I'm going to call this our community safety meeting to order at 6:07 p.m. All right. Public notice. The meeting was publicly noticed. Verification of a quorum. We do have all 7 board members in attendance. Approval of the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made. Second.
Second.
All right. Ms. Ashley. All right. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor will raise hand and or aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously. And again, our business statement is to provide a rigorous education that empowers our students to confidently navigate in our ever-changing world. And our mission statement is through the lens of excellence, equity, and engagement. We are dedicated to empowering every student with the essential skills to build a foundation for lifelong learning. So first off, I'd like to thank everybody that's in attendance and in our community. And if you are online, thank you very much for attending this very special community safety meeting. I'd like to be able to start out with introductions of Dr. Todd Vito, proud school board president.
Corinthia Robinson, board vice president.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Kelsey Brown, proud superintendent.
Good evening, Donna Ross, executive assistant to the superintendent and board of education.
Good evening, Felita Daniels Ashley, board clerk.
Dorothea Macon, parent and board member.
Kevin Clemick, Director of Business Services. 2 years ago.
Rebecca Ramos, Director of People Services. Patrick McIntyre, Director of Teaching and Learning.
Nicole Zick Washington, board member.
Lisa Walker, board member and parent.
Anita Peterson, board treasurer.
We have other individual administrative staff in attendance, please.
Matt Russ, Director of Facilities and Grounds.
Good evening, Shabella Brown, high school principal.
Good evening, Gerald Gregory, K-12 Athletics and Activities Director.
Director of Information Technology.
All right. So again, any other staff members or anyone else that in attendance that needs to be introduced? All right. All right. Well, like I said before, thank you. Sorry.
Our public.
Oh, our public. If you would introduce yourselves.
Kathy Stressman, 63rd Street, Brown Deer.
Extraordinaire. Okay.
Angela Cotton, parent, employee, community member.
All right. Oh, that's all right. He's still here.
So,
Majority Florida.
All right. Thank you very much. Oh, and we had our middle school principal.
Jimmy.
All right. And is there anybody online that would like to introduce themselves?
Dennis Griffin, elementary school principal.
All right, Dennis.
Damian Woods, assistant high school principal.
All right, Damien.
Kara Talk, parent.
All right. Thank you very much.
Ellen Shimmons, Parent Engagement Liaison.
All right. How you doing, Ellen?
Amanda Stewart, District Registrar.
All right. How you doing, Amanda? Anyone else?
I got it.
All right. So with that being said, so this evening, what we'll be discussing is our safety initiatives during Dr. Kelsey Brown's administration. And what we'll be doing is looking at our past, our present, and our future safety initiatives. The purpose of this meeting is to bring together parents, guardians, and school stakeholders to engage in a meaningful and constructive dialogue about school safety. We aim to foster shared understanding, to empower our parents with knowledge, create a forum for open discussion, encourage active participation, and establish a sense of shared responsibility. And by coming together, we will hope to strengthen the partnership between our parents, the school, and ensure that our collective commitment to safety remains unwavering and that our students can thrive in an environment where their well-being is paramount. Now, with that being said, what I'd like for the etiquette for this meeting is everyone, please be respectful. We'll only have one speaker going on at a time. When we do our QA, there'll be a 2-minute maximum. And that's only the statements or the questions will actually happen during our Q&A, not after each of one of our statements. And please understand that this is fluid and some initiatives can change while during the course of the school year. And so any updates that end up happening, the administration will definitely send something out to let our community know that we are increasing safety measures. All right. So again, by no means is this an exhaustive list. And we always look for ideas coming from our community in relationship to safety to have their input involved in our safety plans that have been created. Okay. Now, with that being said, our first individual, we're going to talk about our past. Oh no, I'm sorry. We're going to Ms. Bacon.
Right. Okay, first of all, I'd just like to just assure everyone that safety is very important to the district. We want to protect our children, our administrators, our teachers. And so we have a number of different policies that are listed in the manuals that we'd like for you guys to look at when you get an opportunity. I'm going to just kind of briefly talk about some of the areas that have been, that we've addressed that are in the policy manual. One of the policies is related to threats of violence. And so that is your code P08462.1.01. And basically what it does is it talks about threats of violence and how administrators and instructors, teachers are reporters. So if there's any issue that seems to be going on with the children as a professional, they are obligated to share that information. There's also special training that staff receives after 6 months of employment or, within that 6 months of employment to help with that training for threats of violence. And also, just want you to know that we take that very seriously when there are threats. Next, we have the student code of classroom conduct. Basically you want students to do their best to not disrupt class, to make sure that they are doing what they need to do to make sure that the classroom is not dangerous for other students or for themselves, that they're not clowning around in class, just things like that. Student conduct is very important. As far as weapons are concerned, weapons are not allowed on campus, with the exception, of course, theatrical props or knives that are used for food consumption but anything that's going to be a threat to another individual is definitely off basis. So we have a number of different policies that are out here to protect children, to protect our staff, to protect people that come onto the campus. And so we also have some other information that talks about the school safety plan. There is a school safety plan that's in effect. There's also information that kind of outlines suspension and expulsion. And so basically, if you get an opportunity to look at these pieces of paper, it identifies or it basically tells you that safety and security is very important for the district. Nothing is written in stone. So if parents or community people have something that they can contribute to this, these are reviewed regularly and additions can be made if they make sense. And so we just want you to know that safety and security of our community is really important, and our babies. Very, very important. Anyone have any questions?
That's at the end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. So thank you very much, Ms. Bacon, about talking about our policies, especially in relationship to when we talk about weapons, which is zero tolerance. when we start to talk about suspensions and expulsions and things of that nature, we have policies that are in place that govern that. And we take all of those very, very, very seriously at the administrative level as well as the board level. So we do have policies and procedures that are in place that we actually have to follow when it comes to that. All right. So now let's go to our historical safety initiatives. Ms. Ashley.
So, yeah, good evening, everyone. So I have the honor to talk about the historic and give you a historical perspective with regards to what we are doing and what has been done in the past to really up our security game, right? And this is not a matter that we take lightly. In fact, what I'm most proud of is the efforts that have been employed since. And just bear with me, because I do really want to share with the public all of the things that we have implemented like I said, in the past. So all of our doors are locked during the school day. Visitors must buzz in to be admitted. They must sign into the office and wear a visitor's pass when they're moving about the campus. There are two-way radios that serve as a means of communication. So staff is in constant communication, have access to the ability to communicate. In terms of training, trauma-sensitive training for all staff, that has occurred, it is ongoing, and we are really diligent in terms of taking into consideration how our students show up at our buildings. In terms of the implementation of the 3-tiered PBIS framework, that is in play, that is consistently being addressed then and now. Community-based mental health agencies provide mental health services. We make it accessible for anyone who we deem, necessary or needing to have that service. Anybody who really wants to access mental health services. Social media awareness events are provided. District leadership have attended facilities management, school safety workshops and seminars. And those are ongoing. In terms of pupil services, the pupil service staff have participated in crises prevention training. Staff participate in ALEKS training. The district utilizes the Raptor visitor management software. Restorative justice training is provided for staff. Window hardening applied for field house and administration center. Again, just demonstrating the need to always ensure that the safety and health and well-being of our students are first and foremost. The emergency call box is available to staff and students. Emergency PA system is in place. The perimeters of our doors in all of these buildings have been upgraded. There's a voice evacuation and new PA system that has been installed. The district has even contracted with a security company, and they have added an additional layer of safety and security for those folks coming and going on this campus. And of course, many of you probably are aware that we have a full-time police liaison officer, that we have easy access, that's visible, that's mobile, that's accessible, which we think is pretty awesome. But it also adds another layer of safety to the district. In addition to that, our comprehensive security site assessments that occur regularly and in the capable hands of Matt, who ensures that all of these systems are managed, as well as annual assessments and updated emergency operations plans that are done fairly frequently. And so with all of that, I think that when we talk about a historical perspective and what has been done, I'd like to just take this opportunity to give credit to our staff, our building staff, our superintendent, who really has placed this matter at the top of our agenda, and we will continue to keep safety and wellness at the forefront of this agenda.
Now, when you sit there and you listen to that right there, that seems as though that is our safety plan that we're at right now. That was our historical. That is from our 20 through 22 safety measures that have been in place. Now what we'll do is we'll go into our past, which will be our 22, 23 safety initiatives that were put in place.
To piggyback on to what Ms. Daniels Ashley touched on, the school entrances are locked, and the rafter system that she had mentioned is actually where visitors are asked to present a picture ID, such as their driver's license, which can be scanned and entered into the system so that we know all the visitors that are coming here. Also, the students have Gaggle, which is a safety management solution to keep watch over student produce through their school issued accounts to help identify those who are in need of assistance for bullying and self-harm. Also, we have Halo now, which is the smart center, or the smart sensor is a multifunctional detection device that allows for comprehensive health and safety awareness for our school buildings and the bathrooms. It's able to monitor carbon dioxide, particulate concentrations, humidity, volatile organ components, and compounds, and nitrogen dioxide in the air so that we can make sure our bathrooms are safe for all our students. And as Felita mentioned, we do have a full-time safety officer here. And I think the other important thing is that we do have monthly safety meetings that are held with the district and the building administration, as well as the SIL team, to discuss safety protocols and to check up any current events and ensure continuous improvement with all our staff.
Yeah. And then one thing to be able to add is that Gaggle system. That is actually, you just think about how grassroots that system is, because that system is the thing that helped us when the gun was in the building, the knife was in the building, students were able to tell adults that something was going on and what was happening or whatever. So that right there is definitely something that, like I said before, is grassroots and something that we definitely want to be able to continue to implement and reward our students, and to make sure that they want to be able to keep our buildings and our facilities and each other safe. All right. So now with that, let's go on to our current initiatives going on for our 23-24 school year.
Like an infomercial. Wait, there's more. We have more, though. There are things that are currently happening, under this current administration. Now we have implemented random locker searches, so students understand that at any given moment, you may have your locker searched, which could be a great deterrent for doing things that you should not be doing. In addition to, Dr. Vita touched on the Gaggle program, Mrs. Walker touched on Gaggle. So in addition to that being a program where kids are kind of monitored with their online activity, we also have Gaggle Speak Up for Safety now, which allows students to use a digital tip line where they can anonymously report things. And so, as Dr. Vita had touched on, they can now report things like, hey, there's a gun in the building, and it allows them that anonymity to not be snitching or whatever it is. So they have that available to them. The PA system has now been installed in the field house, so voices reach further. Putting that there allows the high school announcements to be heard in the field house. There's student assemblies, so the administrators at each level are now holding assemblies in elementary, middle, and high school. They discuss things like weapons and making sure that we're speaking up and making sure that we're having transparent conversations about the importance of keeping our buildings safe. So those assemblies have been implemented. And then there's also Panorama, which helps us to address the social and emotional needs of our students. And so that'll be available to them under this current administration as well.
Yeah. And then one other thing to be able to add with that, Ms. Zick, is that fully updated emergency plan. And that is in conjunction with the Brown Deer Police Department, Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. And through this partnership, we have a plan in place for emergencies as they rise. And that's ongoing, and that's every year to be reviewed to ensure that our law enforcement agencies our law enforcement agencies are part of our safety plan and being here. I think right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Kelsey Brown, if there's an emergency at any of the buildings, I think Brown, you said they'd be here within, was it 2 minutes?
1 to 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
within 1 to 2 minutes, we would have our law enforcement agencies here at our buildings to be able to thwart any emergency. So yes. All right. And now with that being said, now we turn around and we said all of this. Now you think about it, we've got all of these safety initiatives going on, but we're not done. All right. We are not done for the simple fact that, you know what? We had a survey that went out to our parents. And so with that survey, I'm sorry, our community positive service. So Ms. Peterson.
No.
Oh, that's I'm sorry, Ms. Robinson and then Ms. Peterson. I'm sorry. Got excited for a minute and stuff. Safety.
It's the good stuff, the grant.
All right, Ms. Robinson.
So in May of this year, we applied for a grant from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services. There were 1,022 applicants, various school districts. And in October, we were notified that we were one of the 206 districts that are being rewarded this grant. We shared with them our safety measures that we already have in place. And then we expressed the need and concerns that we have that we were planning to apply the grant funds to. One of those being door access. So with the plan of adding additional key fob door entry access to all of our exterior doors. Another is cameras. So updating the cameras that no longer provide a good resolution for being able to have clear surveillance, and installing cameras on our staff and student parking lots, as well as our playground areas and other identified blind spots that we had around campus. Another is for communication. So updating our current radios and purchasing additional radios that will enable adequate digital communication between our district staff and our first responders. Another piece to that is for window filming so that we can apply safety film on our glass doors and window surfaces to prevent breakage and penetration. And the fifth piece to that is the district emergency response teams being able to receive training on the basic tenets and protocols of the National Incident Management System, as well as training to further develop and implement a well-defined reunification plan in case of an emergency. So all of those things, the grant total will be $207,787,000. Did I say that right? $207,787 in federal funds from the grant, and our district will have a 25% match to that grant, which will be an additional $69,262 for a total cost of $277,049.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Hey, hard at work on the grant writing from the administrative team. All right, and then our last piece, which is one of the main reasons why we are here, is because of our survey that went out, and I think it was 342 respondents responded in relationship to weapon detection materials. So, Ms. Peterson.
All right. So I'm sure that we can have a great appreciation for all that we've heard this evening, the things that we've put in place, the things that have been in place for quite some time that maybe many of us were not even aware of. But as Dr. Beadle mentioned, the district sent out a survey to learn whether our parents were interested in the possibility of installing metal detectors in our school. 75% of those that responded answered yes to that question. So as a result of that survey, coupled with the situations that have occurred in our school that we all are pretty much aware of, it's been our desire to try to not only make our students feel safe coming to school, but we also want to ensure that our parents feel comfortable about bringing their children to our Brown Deer School. So with all of this in mind, I first want to thank Matt. Matt is our Director of Facilities and Grounds for taking the lead on this project, researching and investigating different options that we would allow us to do the best that we can to ensure the safety of all of our students entering the doors at our Brownview School District. So thank you, Matt, for the work that you've put into making this happen for us. And so again, with that being said, Matt has researched a couple options that I'd like to share with you this evening. And certainly if you have any questions after my presentation, if you will, please write those down. And in the end, during the question and answer section, we, myself along with Matt, will try to the best of our ability to answer those questions. So the first option that's being considered is the Garrett metal detectors. These are your standard metal detectors that you see and you walk through at airports. Everything, including a student, will need to be checked, which would mean that all book bags, every single purse, and anything else that that student may be carrying will need to be checked. As a result, the entrance time into the school will be much, much longer. Another concern with this option is the mental stress and anxiety that we may be placing on our students to have to endure this procedure every single day of the school year. These are things that we're looking at as we consider the best option and as we move forward with investigating this option and other options. Another thing that we need to consider is the cost. Now, please keep in mind that this is a cost that has not been included in the approved budget for the 2023-24 school year. The cost for each detector is $4,000 per unit. We've estimated that we would need approximately 20 units to cover the entire district. We've estimated that we would also need a minimum of a two-person crew to work with each unit. And finally, within that crew, we would need one person to have a hand scanner. One person of that two-person crew with each unit to have a hand scanner to be able to scan the students as would be needed. That's the crux of this Garrett metal detector. And certainly as we talk about metal detectors, this was the first route and the first investigative approach that we took. After hearing all of that, Matt decided to dig a little deeper to see if there were any other options out there. And he came across the second option that's called the Evolve Weapons Detection System. This system, we learned in the research, is not classified as a metal detector. It is an advanced weapons detection system and can distinguish between a phone, an iPad, personal items, can distinguish that from a potential weapon or components of a weapon. Unlike a metal detector, it is not looking for all metal items, but rather for weapons and parts of weapons only. It is advanced enough to detect just those items. And as a result, our students will simply walk through the doors, through the system, as they normally would, coming through the doors of the school with their book bags, their purses, and other personal items in hand, with the system only sounding off if it determines an actual weapon or weapon parts are present. With this evolved system, there will not be the long lines that we would have anticipated with the metal detector. We also believe that there would be less stress on our staff and our students as the look of this system, and I thought we were going to have some pictures. Yeah.
Put it in the handout.
I know, I'm just saying in relation for individuals that were, I thought we were putting them up on the screen.
Right. But this system is far less intimidating in its look as we compare that to the actual metal detectors. Another great feature of the Evolve system is that the units are portable and can be moved throughout our district and set up for the nights that we may have a play on campus or for basketball games. And even for outdoor events, they can be moved and set up accordingly that we can use them in those areas. The price of this system, I'll say that again. The price of this system is $37,200 per unit. We estimate that we may need approximately 5 units throughout the district. The system will also need a 2-person crew for each unit and a 1-hand scanner to be used by one of the crew members for each unit. The Evolve System Act also has an annual fee of $84,000 for the first year. Wonderful. It is up on the screen. Great.
Yeah.
It has an annual fee of $84,000 for the first year and $66,000 for each year for the next 3 years. And just looking at the picture, if you can visualize what a metal detector looks like as you're going through the airport and things like that, and then take a look at this system, our students, staff, and whomever else would come into the building would simply walk through as they're walking through the doors. And if nothing is on them that is a weapon or a part of a weapon, they would continue on to their day. Unlike with the metal detector, everything would have to be checked. So the student is literally stopped at the entrance. Book bags are checked, purses are checked, and whatever else they may have on their beam would be checked. So this is the Evolve Weapons Detection System. Now, I know that I've given out a few numbers here, and I'm sure that some of us are doing some calculating in our heads here. You can see that these purchases and the installation of either one of these detection systems are very costly. We are estimating that this could cost the district upwards of close to $300,000 to implement, if not more. But we are determined to make this happen. And our Director of Business Services, our wonderful Kevin and his team, are working diligently to try and find funding and some type of capacity to afford us the opportunity to have this happen. So this is my report. These are the 2 options that we have come across. There was a 3rd option, but there is not even enough information that has been gathered to even present that option. So I do thank you for listening this evening, and this concludes my report. Again, if there are any questions, hopefully you jotted them down and we can talk about them more with the help of Matt and myself answering the best that we can during the question and answer time.
So again, to our community, we definitely took serious the questionnaire that we sent out and the results that came back. But as you can see, to be able to implement something like this is going to cost money that we hadn't had in the original budget. So we know that this is going to be costly in order for us to be able to do that. We just wanted to let the community know that we are doing our due diligence and we are researching every viable option in order to be able to keep our students safe and being able to do this. We did want you to understand the cost, the initial startup cost, as well as the ongoing cost in relationship to these systems. I know when everyone heard about the Evolve Weapon Detection System, you were like, whoa, what's going on with this one right here? But we know we hear that system. It sounds wonderful, but again, when I did my calculations, it was $270,000 for that first year, just in equipment and being able to pay the fee, get started without the cost of the individuals that'll be able to do it. And then the cost for the regular metal detectors, equipment ran up to be $80,000, but having two people that for 20 different spots and being able to do that can also seem rather costly as well too. So what we will do is we will do our due diligence and look through these variable options. Matt is also looking at other options that potentially could come into play. So we just want to let you know, we just want to let the public know about our weapons detection and systems and being able to do that and researching that a little bit more. Now, with that being said, it seems as though that we've gone through a multitude of different safety initiatives, things that we've done past, present, and future, and being able to do that to let you know how serious we are about the safety of our staff, our students, and our facilities, and being able to do that. So now we go down to our question and answer session of this, and this is only dealing with our safety, safety questions. Again, 2 minutes. We're going to be respectful, and then also remember that every question that you may have, we may not have that answer, but what we will do is make sure that we will research it and be able to try to get back to you. As we said before, we hope that you've jotted down some questions that you think that would be pertinent to this, or any questions that you would like some answers to, and we'll do that. And remember, 2 minutes. Okay. All right.
It's Talk, Mrs. Talk.
Oh, hello, and this is my husband, Roy. Roy,
Hello.
Talk and I are both on the call.
Yeah.
No.
Hi there.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get the camera. Hey. Some of y'all know I'm a technologist. I've got some questions about the Evolve solution. My first question is, and I'll just read through the questions because I know time is limited. My first question is, where did tonight's info come from? Did it come from the manufacturer, like on their website? Was this promotional? Or did this come from maybe a dispassionate third party? If it came from the manufacturer, I would recommend that we should digest it with a grain of salt, or maybe a pillar. Were there any references for this Evolve system from other school districts, or the information comes straight from a sales presentation off their website? For new tech solutions, often these companies offer these things, but then they are obsolete in 5 years and the systems have to be replaced. So is there some kind of guarantee that the system will last 5 years, 10 years, whatever, or can they just obsolete it in 2 years? Careful, board. The other question, this would cover any of these solutions. What is the staffing cost for a 2-person team to man one of these units? That's all I've got. Thank you, board, for everything you do. Very much appreciate the research.
And the
Thanks.
research, thank you.
All right. So just to clarify, question number 1 is about the Evolve system, and was it a sales presentation, or did we actually see the system in action at other school districts? Matt?
I would like to. Sorry, I was more interested in this information we got tonight. Did this come straight from the manufacturer?
Let's
Just get ready to answer that for you, sir.
This information came to me. I reached out to the company. I've had 2 or 3 different conversations with them, and me and Dr. Kelsey Brown actually went down to Racine Unified, which has the Evolve system operational currently. We had a demonstration both through the manufacturer and some counterparts of theirs. And we found out what the system does for their school district and how it functions and what they do and what they don't do. So we've seen it in action at another school district. Racine Unified does have it. You can also go up to Potawatomi Bingo and see the unit itself as well. They have it as well. There's a couple of other big businesses and corporations that do carry it as well. But I've been in contact with them multiple times, and then we went down to Racine United to go see this. And it's actually this past week, Tuesday, when we went.
In addition to that, the administration from Racine Unified spoke very highly about the system in comparison to when they didn't have it. They were trying to manage their students through metal detectors, and they talked about the fact that it would take almost an hour and a half to get all of those students into that particular high school. Now, that high school was had a population of 1,600 students, which is our district size, right? So once they moved to the Evolve system, it reduced the amount of time that it takes for students to come into the buildings in the morning. So that was very helpful information. The other piece that Matt forgot to add is one of the representatives from Evolve has been on our campus already and took a look at, he was in our area, took a look at what it could potentially look like for Evolve to be a system here in the school district of Brown Deer. And he was there in Racine last Thursday when Matt and I went. So yes, we have seen it in action.
Thank you. That's, yeah.
You're welcome.
Second question.
All right, and the second question was two-man team cost. Mr. Clement, you have?
Well, I think one of the questions, I know in Racine, I think they use especially trained paraprofessionals. So they use already existing staff. I think that one of the questions, and it's with all of these solutions, is always the details of implementation. You know, is how many locations are you going to need the equipment? How many doors will be open? You know, because obviously the largest impact is at the beginning of the day when you have kids coming in, or at the beginning of any event. So how many entrances would we allow students to enter through? You know, obviously if you have one, it's a different story than if you have 3 or 4. It also means that there's, you know, it takes longer to get the students, you know, into the building. So there's those trade-offs. So I think it's understanding whether or not we would need to hire additional staff or whether we'd be able to use our own staff. So Racine did come back with, like I said, they do train their staff, but they use their paraprofessionals that are there in the morning. Again, and then the question comes into, you know, right now hiring in general is challenging. So, you know, how much it will cost will depend on when we do this and what the skill set of the folks that we are looking toward to do that. So we're probably I'm guessing if it is somebody in the $20 an hour range or potentially more, it's also the length of time of day that we're talking about. So it's obviously, you know, in a perfect world, we would have teams here for an hour during the rush of students coming in. But the reality is that you're not going to probably find a lot of people that want to work for an hour a day. So we'd have to figure out how that would work. So there's a lot of variables as to what that's going to look like and what the ultimate cost would be going forward from a staffing standpoint.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Clement. Other questions? Back here, and then we'll go here.
Thank you all for looking into this. I do have a couple of questions. One is, if this is going to be for the beginning of the day, how does this secure our kids throughout the day? That's the first question. Kids come and they go, parents come and go, members in the community come and go. Is this something that you plan on staffing all day? Is this something that people will have to come through all day long? And if so, who's manning it and where is it at? We all know there's more than one entrance into the building. I'm assuming that we looked at that as well. So how are we making sure that when we spend this extra money on this, we're securing the whole facility and not just that first hour of the day, throughout the whole entire day? That's my first question. The second question is, we sent out a survey. I applaud you for sending out the survey. Do we ever send out a survey to parents when emotions aren't heightened about what has happened in the building? And if that does occur, when does it occur? As a parent, I see the surveys after things are heightened. So parents are working off of emotions. I get many calls when things happen. What's going on? Are my children safe? Whatever. But when are we questioning these parents on how they feel when they're not dealing with the emotions of what their child may have just went? And then I know you guys were looking at staffing for this and staffing all day. And again, my other question would be, when we're talking about dollars and
if we're going to the community for dollars and saying, hey, we're looking for you to help fund this, I don't think the community will have a problem with it. But they do need to know what they're funding. They do need to know what you're asking for them to fund and not just give them something that sounds good, but give them the truth. If it's going to be $8,000 a year, let them know it's going to be $8,000 a year. If it's not going to cost that, let them know. If you're unsure, let us know. Now, I'm not going to say them, I'm going to say us because I'm a part of that. Let us know what that cost is going to be going forward. We don't necessarily have a problem paying it. Most of the time we'll say, hey, we're going to pay it if it's going to help our kids with their education, if it's going to make a safe environment for them and ease our minds. But what we just want to know is we want to know what it is that you're looking for. And we also want to know what the plan is, not just the Band-Aid. Thank you.
All right. So with that being said, I don't know if Matt, you want to be able to address the first part, in which I know as a board, we talked about in relationship to the doors and the entrances and how would this work? Would this be all day? And one of the things that we thought about, one of the things that was discussed with us was what would that cost really look like? Because we know we would continue to have, as you said, in the brush, yes. And then once that brush is over with, will we have a person that was manned there all day long? Yes, we would. But that was one of the things that we talked about because people are coming in through that same entrance. Parents are coming through and everything else like that. So I know that was one of the things that we definitely did discuss and being able to do that. So yes, that's number one. I think the second question that you had was,
Do we survey parents?
when do we survey parents? Well, of course, this one right here was a special circumstance in relationship to that. I know as a board and as administration, we've talked about being able to have surveys that kind of go out annually to our parents and to our families or whatever have you, to be able to talk about whether it's safety or any other different issues that potentially could arise, what's important to you and things of that nature. So that is something else that we've talked about, being able to send surveys out. And I know that would be something that would be annually. But again, this one right here we just thought that it was such a special circumstance and such a crisis that we definitely wanted to be able to do that, because one of the things, if you talk about, the first thing you hear about, if there's a weapon in the school, first thing that's going to come out of your mind is we need weapon, we need a metal detector or whatever have you. But one of the things that we also found out from that survey was a lot of individuals was like, they wanted a system, but the whole thing in relationship from a psychological standpoint and kids walking through a metal detector, what kind of how does that start their day off and everything else like that? So we also took that into consideration. I think that's how we ended up looking at more like the AI system, than something that didn't look as menacing and being able to do that or whatever and stuff, because it's more than just the kid being able to do that. We want them to feel happy when they get ready to walk through the building. And how happy do you feel if you can't walk through the metal detector first thing in the morning coming into school and you're coming in to learn? So we also took that into consideration as well too. And your third thing was the cost. Well, that one right there, I want to say in the words of Stephen A. Smith and more, it's fluid. We don't necessarily really know exactly what everything is right now, but as soon as we nail down what system, what the cost is going to be, figure out the staffing piece of this thing, because that's going to be the hardest part. Right now, there's a hard time trying to be able to find staff. And as Mr. Clement had stated earlier, that, you try to find a person to be able to do 1, 2, or 3 hours a day and being able to staff that. Do we use existing staff? So there are a couple other things that we need to look at internally when it comes to staffing point to that or whatever. But as soon as we get those numbers, once we decide what system we're talking about or whatever, being able to put that together, there are communication that will come out from Dr. Kelsey Brown, letting everybody kind of know what we think the total cost is going to be. It'll be a range, being able to do that, but we'll definitely be doing our due diligence and trying to put that out there and get that out to the public. And one thing that you mentioned, where you said we're going out to the public for that, well, that was also another thing that we talked about as a board, like, wow, okay, how do we turn around and how do we fund this thing? If this thing costs us $400,000, say it costs us $400,000 a year, equipment, plus staffing or whatever have you, something that we did not have, something that we didn't budget for or whatever, and we're kind of in some budget crunches or whatever. How do we do that? So we also did talk about potentially, what if we do have to go out and ask the community? What if we did have to go out and ask the community for money for not only for this update, but we have some other things that actually need to happen as well too, from a facility standpoint. So do we just take this and add everything into something and go for one big ask to our community again for our school district? So I hope I answered your question a bit or whatever, because again, some of these variables we don't know as of right now, but we're definitely working on it. And as you can tell from the information from Matt and from Ms. Peterson and stuff, we are definitely diligently working on this.
I just kind of wanted to mention also, with the administration and the board doing different things, we also need the help of the parents, for the parents to check their children on a regular basis for the social, emotional, how are they feeling each day? How are they feeling during the week? Are they having any problems? Hate to say it, you know, checking their rooms, checking their bags, making sure that they don't have weapons, that they don't have, that they're not looking at things that they're not supposed to be looking at. My daughter went on a field trip last week, and I guess on her phone, she had taken some pictures of nude art. And so I was kind of relieved when I found out she didn't have porn on her phone, but it was kind of cool that that the system picked that up and let me know that she's not carrying inappropriate pictures around on the phone. And I received a call, so I appreciate that. You know, she's in high school now, and, you know, only child, single mother. I don't know what to do half the time, but what I do try to do is I'm in her room sometimes when she's not knowing that I'm in her room, and I'm checking things, and I'm always trying to pay attention to her continence. How is she feeling? What is happening? She seems to be in a good place this year, and I'm really happy about that. That lets me know that she is she's happy with her environment, with the people who she's around, the students, the staff, the administration, and that makes me feel good and makes me feel comfortable as a parent. But I have to keep watching that because it can change at any time. So.
Yes, Ms. Walker.
I just had a question from that I think some parents might, just for the piece of the financing, like no programs cutting or stuff like that. We will find this from an outside source, question mark, right?
I just wanted to spend 2 seconds just on the budget
No, I
side.
mean,
So thank you for that.
that's a valid question.
Yeah,
Because
it
parents are
absolutely
wondering, like, do we have to cut music or do we have to cut something to get this? Because then if that's the choice, then as a parent, for me, you know, that might be a different option than something that I maybe said yes or no to previous.
Right. And if, not that people have followed the budget conversations that we've had as a board and as a district over the last several months, we just approved our budget for 23-24. But we are already talking about 24-25 because the reality is that there is a lot of funding that is going to disappear this year during this school year, and the state budget did not provide enough of an increase for schools. And you're hearing this all across the state about, you know, a lot of districts use the term fiscal cliff. And so it is a reality that we do not have funds set aside for something of this magnitude as of now. So the options are through the budgeting process is prioritizing and deciding what is it that we need to, or where are our emphases so that we make decisions in how we spend the money. So it will either likely require, and we already know we have to do some things differently next year without even talking about this piece of it. There's already things that we have to look at and re-examine. So we are looking at potential ways of reducing costs. It's either reducing costs or it's increasing revenue. And those are really our only two options. And so as the community, as the board, as the administration, as we continue these conversations, what is that balance and where does this priority fall in the list of the, dozens and dozens of other priorities that we look at? I can't say that something's going to have to change. Something would have to change even before this conversation started. So it is going to be a challenge to do anything of significance, especially when you talk about ongoing costs. We have funds available to probably absorb one-time costs, but all of these plans, either through additional staffing or through subscription models with some of the AI pieces where there's these annual costs, those are harder to be able to support with the current budget model that we have. So we have work ahead of us to be able to do it. It's not like we can go out and say like, well, here's the plan and here's the cost that will work and we'll be able to afford. For the future, we're going to have to make some hard choices to decide what the amount is we feel we need to invest, and then how do we allocate those funds, or how do we find those funds for it. So it's going to be a challenge. This is not an easy conversation, and I know we're balancing money and safety, but that is the reality of what we have to look at. And if this is the most important thing that we have to do, then we're going to have to figure out what it is that we're not going to do to make up for that.
Thank you, because I think that's important for people to know that perhaps if you chose this, then there might be something else that you're not going to have now. And that's a hard reality, but it is a reality. So.
And I'm not comfortable saying there's no music. We're not, but we'll have to have that conversation.
But there's going to be something.
Right. The reality is something may have to cut or whatever. But again, just to kind of let our community know that, as a board and administration, we've been very physically responsible on the things that we do, and we will continue to be able to do that. And we will ask your opinion when we do finally come up with certain numbers and certain things. I think it behooves us to make sure that we put that out to our community and let them know, like, hey, this is where we are. These are some of the cost piece of it or whatever. These are potentially some of the things that we may have to cut or reduce or whatever have you in order to be able to do this. And do you agree with it? All right. And so there may be another survey that comes out once we're able to put all of those touch points together to be able to do that. Again, we will not make this decision in a vacuum. We will involve our community, our parents, our taxpayers in relationship to this and stuff, because that's what it comes down to. So.
And to also say that's why it is taking us a bit to make this decision, because there's so many pieces that goes into it that we have to be considerate of. And we're working on it, but as you can see, it will take some effort.
Right. And then one thing like Mr. Clemming had said before, we actually just approved the increases for our teachers, being able to do that. And so some of these things are ongoing costs that we have to do in order to be able to keep staff and our administrators here to being able to do that, but then also being able to find the other dollars to be able to do the other things as well too. Those are just the realities of running a school district and us being able to do that and stuff. So like I said before, as a board, if you look around this table, you saw nobody smiling when all of this is going on or whatever have you. All you do is you see very solemn faces in relationship to what do we have to do, and we take these decisions to heart, and we really think about this and being able to do this and stuff, because this is our community. I always say this is family business. This is our community. This is where we live at. All right. We see each other on a daily basis for those of us that live here. So you know what? We want to be able to make sure that people feel comfortable and confident in the decisions that we make and the things that we do. We definitely always want to make sure that our staff and our students feel safe in being able to come to school. And we've done everything possible in order to be able to do that. All right. Any other questions? I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I wasn't really sure why I came this evening, but I saw those Facebook posts and it concerned me because I'm in the schools as a volunteer in the hallways as well as the classroom, and it's a safe environment. I have never, in all the times I've been involved with the schools, walked in there and felt unsafe, but I feel like it is particularly safe at this point in time because of the administrators that we have. So I guess that is one of the reasons that I came, because there is, I'll talk about the middle school area. There is a calmness to the hallways that 6 years ago was not there. And I used to say nothing is unsafe or happening, but it's not sustainable. And now because of other hiring practices of getting paraprofessionals into the hallway, social emotional people for the kids to talk to, it's another brilliant thing that we're doing because they know the kids, they get them to the principal, they get them to the classroom, and we don't have kids wandering around. So I just guess I wanted to say that out loud, that I can appreciate this conversation. My husband is a retired teacher from Nicolay High School. They have had some device. I am not an expert on it, but they have had some device at the front door for the last almost 30 years.
Metal detector. It's that metal detector.
But they don't scan everything. So I don't know what that's about. But I don't think that like we have to feel like trouble, because we're talking about having a metal detector. It would have been nice if we would have had one 20 years ago, not because things are worse here than someplace else. They're very good here, but as a way to help parents feel comfortable and as a showing, it's more of a showing that yes, we take it seriously. I learned some things about safety tonight that I didn't know, even though it's only been 4 years since I've worked in the building. So, this is a serious subject, but I just want to say, I see the athletic director at lunch hour. I see the principal of the high school sitting in the area of Four Corners talking to kids. I see our assistant principal walking around. He's out there for the buses. Those social emotional paraprofessionals, they are there and you can tell a difference. So I just don't want us to be putting ourselves down when you guys have put so much work into making our school safe, and it is. And there's just so many good things happening in our school that I just felt I needed to say that.
Thank you. And then to piggyback on what Kathy is saying, again, that's the reason why we wanted to talk about what happened, what we had in the initiatives we had in the past,
Yes.
the things that we have in the present, and the things that we're going to be looking at in the future to be able to do that and stuff, because we always thought that this was very, very important, even though sometimes an issue may have happened. But the thing is for us to be able to respond. So now what we're trying to do is be proactive rather than reactive to being able to do anything.
Yeah, your building administrators are very proactive. You just need to say that. They're very proactive.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad that the community is able to hear something like that or whatever and stuff, because what happens a lot of times you see stuff on social media and stuff, and all it is doom and gloom and stuff. And that's not what's going on here or whatever and stuff. But again, we want to be able to qualm some of the fears of some of our students and our staff and our community members and stuff. Hence the reason why we thought it was important for us to have this community safety meeting to let everyone know everything that is going on.
Thank you. You know what? I love the way you're taking ownership as part of the team as well. You know, you're in the community and you're saying it's us. I appreciate that. That lets us know that you're a partner in this work. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I don't know if there's anything here. Matt, you were pointing out?
Not really a question, but more of a statement. As you guys know, we did get accepted for the COPS grant. And that is a safety and security COPS grant in which we are adding more measures to our school district as far as safety is concerned. And that will be implemented in the next 3 years. So there are layers that we are continuously trying to do to make our students safer and looking for ways to help us out every day.
Definitely. Like I said before, past, present, future initiatives to be able to put in there and stuff. So, but the best and most effective things to me, in my estimation, are those grassroots pieces to be able to do that. Oh, Ms. Shimmons.
Hi, I'm really struggling here to find where I put my hand up, but I did unmute myself, so thank you. I concur with what Kathy Stressman said I've been in the buildings, not as much as she has, but I don't feel unsafe in our buildings. I was in there today for all 3 lunch periods, and I was over in the middle school as well for an extended period of time. And I feel that our administration and like Mr. McGregory, these people are out there in the hallways and communicating with kids, and I don't feel unsafe. However, it is concerning when someone has a loaded gun or a knife, which has happened. And I do think these things happen in other districts. They're just not out there like they are with Brown Deer for some reason. And I spoke with Dr. Brown or Dr. Kelsey Brown about possibly starting in January, having an open house after the open house, which is what she phrased it as, but we'll probably call it something else, but where we can have parents come in, like I was in the building today, and have community people come in and see what it's like, what the atmosphere is like when you're in the schools. A couple times I've been in the building and I've questioned because I came in a back way and I thought, is there school on today? Because it was so quiet in the hallway. And I actually had to look into classrooms to see, are the kids here today? Did I miss something? So I know the perception out there sometimes is that it's not safe, but I would agree with Ms. Stressman that it is safe and anything can happen anywhere. And just when you say something, you know, something tragic can happen. Yes, it can happen, and it can happen in any district. And I'm not saying yes or no to the metal detectors. I'm not sure what I think about that, but I do want parents to know that when I'm in the building anyways, I'm feeling safe, and I think people are very proactive and very communicative, and people are very visible.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shimmons. All right. I think it's Todd, or was it, or did her hand never go down from earlier?
No, raise it again.
Okay. Stop.
I apologize. Okay, yeah, this is Kara Tuck. I apologize if you mentioned this, but this has to do with current plan, and I know what we talked about. This has to do with bathrooms at the middle high school, at least. Yeah, it is middle high school. I had heard a few things from possibly from my student and other people about the amount of bathrooms being very limited. Now, I understand this is by no means a criticism. It's just asking questions, that bathrooms can be very limited as far as being open. And I'm certain there are good reasons for that. I'm certain. Are there kind of is there a plan or phases of, this may sound silly, but just how bathrooms can be reopened? Or I think back to, now I'm going to say in my day, and I grew up in Brookfield, Wisconsin. We actually had, I don't think this is okay to do, but I think they tried to take doors off the bathrooms and like doors. I'm sure we can't do that. Sorry, ignore that part. But what, I apologize. But what, are there certain phases of, you know, when more bathrooms can open, or if things are getting better in the bathrooms? I know there are smoke detectors currently, right?
Halo sensors.
I apologize. Halo sensors. So
Yes.
I apologize. Why I was rambling for a moment was remembering back to, I'm certain that there has to be certain sensitivities, and, you know, we're dealing with students, of course, and being respectful and responsible and so forth. I guess what's the status, I guess, of the bathroom situation? Thank you for listening.
So I don't know, will we take it to the principal or?
Be clear. First, clarity around which bathrooms are you referring to?
You said middle school.
The high school.
Four Corners?
The high school, I think more. My student has just mentioned, and I don't want to get in trouble. Just sometimes there will be, you know, again, nobody can be everywhere and look, but there could be many, many people in the bathroom because maybe this one or two are open. Again, I'm certain that I know that there are reasons that that's happening. I'm just wondering. I kind of was hearing that there's maybe only one bathroom open. That might be a stretch, but is there more? What's the status? Is there more going on than just drugs and vaping and stuff? I don't know. I'm concerned. I'm just a little concerned.
Brian, you want to speak to the bathrooms at the high school, please?
Sure, I can. That is a very good question. So throughout the day, different bathrooms are open and closed. The bathrooms at our Four Corners, which is our busiest corner in the high school, is always open throughout the day. During lunch periods, Four Corners and the bathrooms that are located in the field house are always open. But most of the day, Four Corners stays open, and then throughout the day, there are a variation of bathrooms that are open. If there is a student who needs to use the restroom, we haven't had a situation where a kid doesn't have a restroom to use. We can always open the doors. Teachers have keys. They can open the doors to restrooms, so it's not like an issue of they can't open the bathroom or use it. But unfortunately, we work with high school students, and sometimes some high school students don't make good decisions. And just for the safety of the students, we don't want anybody to necessarily vape and share something with another student. So just to keep up, just to be able to monitor when the vape sensor does go off, we're there, and then we are able to interact with that student and hopefully compensate any type of vaping system that they have. So it's more as a preventative measure, but like I said, no one is not allowed to use a restroom. We can always open doors. We told our teachers that you can open the doors. If you have to get back to your classroom, just leave the door open and then just notify us, and then we'll close it back. But at most times, the lunchroom doors, when kids are at lunch, Fieldhouse doors are always open, and then Four Corners stays open all day.
Okay. And I appreciate it. What I should say also is I remember back to high school, and I remember all the issues even way back then. It's not funny, but I think my student had said just, kind of people were crowding in the bathroom. And again, I'm not complaining. I get, these are high school students, and what should I say? And there is no concern about, I appreciate you or that being addressed, but I don't have a concern about that a bathroom is not available. My student had mentioned, like, as you mentioned, like the field house and not the Four Corners, but thank you so much. And I have a question. So as far as vaping, then one further, as far as vaping and smoking marijuana, our punishments are published in the guide. I'm thinking the student guide or parent guide, I mean.
Yes, the infraction is listed in our student parent handbook.
Okay. I'm just curious. I was just curious. Nothing's wrong. I just, it's unfortunate that has to continue, that students continue to do that. But thank you for all the things. I wanted to say thank you for, especially in general, since the pattern that's been happening, not just in Brown Deer, as many had mentioned, in general with, weapons being brought to school, different things occurring, safety issues. I think the board, Dr. Brown, the principal at the high school, so many people have done this research already, and just to be able to bring this forward, I think is excellent. I mean, I think it's a lot of work that was done already, and I appreciate it as a parent. I think you guys have done a good job with that. I also love the communication. I think communication is a way, personally, that helps. And I know it's email and social media, but I think it helps. It's going to help, so parents are informed more. I think it's already helping, but I think the position that was added, now I can't remember the person's name, but that's made a big difference in a year or so. So I'm hopeful, and I would hope that that helps as well, and I would think it is, so.
Thank you so much for your comments.
And Ms. Tock, if I could just provide a little clarity around, we haven't had anyone smoking vaping. We've had some challenges with vaping, but no one has been smoking marijuana in our bathroom. Just so you're clear, I want to go on record by saying that smell would run us all out the building. So we haven't had that, but vaping, yes, we've had some challenges in that area.
Oh, and thank you for clarifying. As long as, if you guys don't mind, one last thing, speaking of vaping, and this was just unbelievable. My student was doing National Honor Society. They did like a cleanup at the school last Sunday. I saw the same two, I don't think they were parents. I think this was outside the field house. I saw people, what I believe was vaping, and they were adults. The reason I bring this up is just to bring up, they were pretty much right outside of the field house. And I'm like, really? People really? I mean, they were old adults, like 40, 50. I don't know if you guys just wanted to be aware of that, and perhaps people, it's kind of ridiculous, but does there need to be a sign that says no vaping and no smoking right outside? I don't know. I was astounded, and I saw it twice, but that's not the school's fault. I'm not blaming anyone. I just was astounded at that. So, plus, if anyone smokes, you shouldn't be smoking on school again, these were adults, and it was probably visitors. It didn't look like anyone familiar, but.
Well, I think just to say that if any of our staff persons were to see something like that, I'm quite sure they would have said, this is a smoke-free zone in relationship to that or whatever and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, when you have adults that come on premises and do things or whatever have you, I mean, I think one of the things for us is if staff see it or whatever is to say something. Or we also tell our staff we don't want them to be confrontational. We can always call the police.
And the only reason I bring it, the reason I bring it up is it's not the school's fault. I'm not saying that. I just thought, oh my goodness, someone doesn't get that you're not supposed to be doing that on the school grounds or in general out. But anyway, that was all. I was taken aback that adults thought they could do that. So that's all.
All right. Excellent observation. And thank you so much for actually attending in some of the comments that you've made. Is there anyone else?
Thank you.
I know we want to be cognizant of the time. I know that we said that this meeting was going to be for an hour. We're a little bit over right now. But again, if there is any pressing question that anyone in our community has, I'd like you to be able to answer that question, ask that question, or make that comment now. All right. Well, you know what? I'd like to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy evenings to come and listen to our safety presentation for the school district of Brown Deer. We were able to share a lot of useful information to you in order to clarify our safety initiatives, our past, present, and our future initiatives, being able to answer any questions that you have as parents in relationship to your students and safety, and being able to do that, again, through our due diligence of the board and with the administrative team to be able to work together, to be able to foster an environment of safe and nurturing environment to our staff and our students to be able to do that and have our community at ease. So with that being said, thank you very much. And if someone would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Motion has been made. A motion has been seconded. All in favor with raised hand and/or aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Why you never have anybody that opposes that part? But hearing and seeing none, motion carries, and I call this safety meeting over at 7:25 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great remainder of your evening and have an even better week. Thank you.